It's that time of the year where we are all waiting patiently for testing to start for the 2026 season, so that we can finally get a slight little glimpse at who is looking the most promising and who is looking the worst for the 2026 season. But with this in mind, before we even get to that, it now means that it is time for my 2026 season-long predictions in F1. And hey, last year I managed to get around a 50% correct score, which I think for season-long predictions is very, very good. But we knew a lot more heading into 2025 than we do to 2026. So honestly, I think my pass rate for this season is probably going to be around 25-30%. Because if I'm wrong here, they're going to be very wrong. But who knows? Maybe I'll hit the nail on the head. We'll start off with the wildcard predictions. So this is just more of the fun predictions. And we'll start off with surprise podiums. So how many drivers do I think will get surprise podiums? Well, heading into 2026, I believe there'll be 3 surprise podiums. Maybe 4, but I don't think it's that much of a surprise because one of them got it in 2025, so a little bit of debate for if that actually is or isn't. But my first one is Pierre Gasly. Now, this instantly could already go so wrong, because while I'm recording this is now when, depending whenever I put this up, when the FIA and all the teams are going to have a vote to see if the Mercedes engine is actually legal or not. So if it ends up with them not being able to use this compression method that they've had set up in their car, I'm completely screwed on this, including with the Pierre Gasly surprise podium. The reason I put them there now is I really do think most teams, I think all teams with a Mercedes engine will have a podium this season. If the rumours are true, which I believe they are, they look extremely rapid, and there will be a crazy race. Hey, it might not even be a crazy race. Alpine just genuinely might be within the top 5 teams, and that might be enough to just have one weekend where their car's more suited than another car. And I'm really excited for that because I think Pierre Gasly is a very slept-on driver. Second on the list is Liam Lawson. Now, there's no actually reason behind why I think he'll get a surprise podium. More to the fact that I kind of think he needs it. He needs one of those standout drives to stay in F1. Otherwise, I think he's gone by the end of 2026 or 2027. And you know what? After all of the issues he had starting at Red Bull in 2025, getting demoted, I think it'd be quite nice for him to get a podium. And then my third and final surprise will be Alex Albon. Again, going across the Mercedes engine route. It's been a long time since he's had a podium. And wouldn't it just be great to see Alex Albon on the podium? Or hey, maybe he goes and wins the race. I don't know, but all I want is Alex Albon on the podium. And this is why it's 3 instead of 4, because also we have Carlos Sainz that I put into this surprise podium category, but he got 2 last season, so I think it wouldn't be as much of a surprise as the other 3. Then heading into my race winners, well, how many race winners do I think there'll be in 2026 first of all? Well, I think there'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 race winners in F1 2026. That's more than in 2025, so I'm being really ambitious considering there's probably going to be one big team that runs away with it and there's only like 2 or 3 race winners because there's a race where they both DNF. But I'm really hoping it's 5 or more just because it just makes it such a good season. But my 5 right now are Russell, Antonelli, Verstappen, Piastri and Norris. Again, if that Mercedes engine is where I think it's going to be McLaren and Mercedes at the front. Mercedes taking most of the wins. McLaren sneaking in a couple where their aero works better at different tracks or they have a better setup for, I don't know, Monza or something where it's top speed. And then you could never not vouch for Verstappen getting a race win. We just know how incredible he is. Even if he's in the 3rd, 4th fastest car with the Red Bull, you know he's going to grab one somewhere. So I'm really hoping that is the case. But then again, also, you can already tell we're only 2 predictions in. And if this engine has any issues that the FIA are like, you can't use it anymore, or you can't use this layout, or whatever they do to the engine, I'm screwed on all of these predictions. It could be a 0%er or 100%. I genuinely think there's going to be no in between right now. And this is where we go into the standout drives. He's actually been mentioned in one of my other predictions. But I'm going to go back for back years putting them as my standout driver, and that's Pierre Gasly. Because honestly, in 2025, I genuinely think he was a standout driver. He wasn't the standout driver, but he was really good. I mean, Alpine didn't do him justice, did he? He still scored 100% of their points. He got so many points considering where Alpine were. And I think if he continues that form heading into 2026, if they've got a half competitive car, he will be in the top 10 most weekends. He'll get a surprise podium. He'll be there or thereabouts. I'm really hoping so. I think Pierre Gasly's going to be the standout driver. And then, mate, who knows? Maybe that'll be his chance to get another big move to someone else. We don't know what silly season's going to be like, but I'm really excited for Gasly. This really does feel like a make or break season for him. Whether he will always just be a midfield driver like at the time Perez, Hulkenberg right now. So it's a big year for him. Then heading into most pole positions, and I have to go with a Mercedes driver, don't I? It does just look like Mercedes are going to be the fastest, and you can't say it's going to be anyone else other than Mr. Saturday himself, George Russell. If the Mercedes is fastest, I don't think Kimi Antonelli's getting close to George Russell, because I know a lot of people have been doing the comparison between Piastri and Norris. The difference is, just look at Piastri and Norris's comparison for their second year. Norris was still quite a mile ahead of Piastri, even though Piastri was closing the gap. And then you got a situation of teammates where Russell arguably could be known as a better driver than Lando, especially if you're going off their earlier career stuff, versus a driver I think is worse than Piastri as well. So I don't think Kimi Antonelli is going to be able to shrink it in championships or in pole positions. So I have to go with George Russell here. And then finally, for my most improved team from 2025 to 2026, it's not going to be Cadillac, shock horror. But again, it's going to be Alpine. I really do think Alpine will shoot up to around the 6th or 5th fastest car because of that Mercedes engine. And there's only, they were last year. There's only so much they can't screw up. I think they'd still be most improved if they were 7th or 8th just because of how shoddy 2025 was for them. So it has to be Alpine. I think the only way I lose this one is if Aston genuinely is back in the top 4. Or maybe if Ferrari win the championship. But I think I'm pretty safe there. Now let's head into the big predictions of the video. I'm talking Drivers' Championship. I'm talking Constructors. I'm talking Worst Driver. And I'm talking Worst Constructor. So heading into the first one, Drivers' Championship. Who's going to win it? Well, if you couldn't guess from what I've been spouting on about this entire video, Mercedes this, Mercedes that. I don't even really like Mercedes, so it annoys me that Mercedes are going to be at the top. But they just look like they've got it right, haven't they? Their drivers look so smug at the minute. Russell hasn't been able to wipe that smile off his face. They've been all talking about, oh no, let's see what everyone else has got. Stop sandbagging. We know you've got a brilliant car behind you. I'd be surprised if George Russell didn't go on and win the championship. And I don't think it'll be close. I think if it really is a shootout between Antonelli and Russell, Russell's going to go and sweep the competition. I do hope if Red Bull and McLaren are involved, definitely if Red Bull's involved, Verstappen can give Russell a little bit of a run for his money. I think Verstappen would still be the underdog in this situation, not for championships won, but he'll have the worst car fighting a driver with the better car. And I also think if McLaren's just a little bit behind, they can also put up a fight. But again, if they do this nonsense with both Norris and Piastri going for the championship, I think a clear-cut number one driver like George Russell would go on to easily take the win. We saw how close Verstappen got in 2025, and I think Russell would easily be able to do that if he had a better car than both the McLarens. Then heading into Constructors' Champion, and this one gets a little bit more interesting because I think for Mercedes, like I mentioned, I don't think Antonelli would pull his weight as much as George Russell, but I do think if they had the fastest car, it wouldn't matter too much. Again, you're probably going to have McLaren drivers knocking each other's points off, but in a constructor's sense, that actually might end up working better. So I do think it will be worse, Mercedes versus McLaren for the Constructors' title, hopefully. And you'll see a situation of Russell running away with the Drivers' Championship, Antonelli sluggishly behind in about P4, P5 behind both Verstappen, Norris and Piastri. And then you've got a situation of, well, maybe McLaren will be able to just average out more points in the Constructors. But I think Mercedes will be able to hold on. So I've gone for Mercedes Constructors Champions. Let's see if that actually happens. But again, I've gone very, very much Mercedes. And I could be kicking myself before this video even goes out. I'll still put it out, even if all of this rumours and dilemmas for the Mercedes engine come true. But we're not even going to talk about it because it's not going to happen. And my prediction is going to be all right. And then heading into the worst driver for 2026, last year I went for Lance Stroll. That's a pretty easy choice, and I think easily you could put contender for him there as well. You could also put Colapinto, but I think with a better car, Colapinto won't be so bad. Who I'm going for is Esteban Ocon. The reason I go for Esteban Ocon is because it feels like another driver who's got a season like Pierre Gasly lined up. It's a make or break season. He needs to show that he's got a bit of pace in the car. I don't think Haas are going to be anywhere near the top 4, but in the sense of he has to beat Behrman. And I don't think he's going to. And I think if he gets swept off the floor by Ollie Behrman, it could be Esteban Ocon's final season or nearing to the end of his career, because now he's getting beaten by rookies and it could just all spiral. And I do think it could take a hit to his mentality, and then maybe he just doesn't perform that great. That's what I think is going to happen, sadly, which is annoying because I do think Esteban Ocon is another slept-on driver, because again, he's never been that bad, and he put on a good fight against Perez, Alonso and Gasly. But I think after Behrman going toe-to-toe with him, yeah, he can't lose to Behrman for a second season. And if he does, he's in a situation where he's potentially the worst driver on the grid. Then heading into the worst constructor, and I've left the easiest one for last, and it's going to be Red Bull. No, of course it's not going to be bleeding Red Bull. It's going to be Cadillac. No questions asked. It is definitely between Audi and Cadillac. Right now, Audi with their new engine, we don't know where they're going to be. They're designing their whole car. It's looking, hopefully they can do half decent with that. But again, Cadillac, an entirely new team. I don't expect them to be scoring more than 10 points throughout the entire season. I think they've got the drivers to pull out a few half decent race weekends, but they can scrape a P8, a P9. But I would be very, very shocked if Cadillac weren't the worst car, or at least the 9th fastest car on the grid. Not 9th, 10th fastest car. I'm forgetting it's 11th and 10th now. But those are all of my predictions for the 2026 season. Comment down below if you have any wildcard prediction. Who do you think is going to win the Drivers' Championship, Constructors' Championship? I'm excited to hear what people think about worst driver as well, because I think there's going to be a lot of Lance Strolls and Colapintos. But after that, are there any other drivers you think will do badly? I've heard Perez being mentioned as well in that. I think that's a little bit crazy. I think he'll be back to his good old ways in a midfield car or a back marker car. But it's going to be so interesting to see. And hey, when I'm recording this, it's officially 1 month away from Australia's practice starting up the season. When I actually get out the video, maybe it's a Monday, maybe it's a Tuesday, who knows. But thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all on Wednesday for my price predictions video for F1 Fantasy. Take care, everyone.